So I know that Scream 3 isn't the most beloved in the franchise, but I have to say, going back and watching it, it's actually a pretty outstanding film. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video we are going to be reviewing Scream 3, which is the third and final installment as part of the original Ghostface Scream trilogy before of course Scream 4 and 5 came along. And I have to say, going back and watching it is so much better than I thought it was, and also so much better than people give it credit for. It's actually such a wicked movie, and like Randy said in his videotape, in this movie it goes back to the past and changes what you think you knew was true. And all of the Maureen Prescott stuff was just so wicked, and it really meant that once again we really do have Sidney Prescott at the centre of everything, and we also have Ghostface having a true motivation and being a lot stronger than he ever has been as well. We also get to be on a film set, which is really cool. We also have a bit of a film within a film, Stab 3 within Scream 3, which is really cool. And also this movie in particular is the funniest of all of the Scream franchises, TV series included, which I thought was really cool, and I cannot wait to break it down for you in this movie review. So the opening death sequence of Cotton Weary and his girlfriend, where we get to see that Ghostface has some new tricks up his sleeve, where he is so much stronger, so much more determined to try and find the Sidney Prescott character, and mainly and most importantly has some new tricks where he can play other people's voices. And I feel like they really did use this ability across the film really well, and in particular in the opening sequence where you get to see that he's actually playing Cotton's voice and really does mislead his girlfriend into thinking that this really is Cotton, so that when Cotton Weary does come in, she is totally scared of him. I really do feel like they use this ability so well, and obviously Cotton Weary was such a big character in the second Scream film in particular, and so to kill him off in the beginning of Scream 3 just meant so much, and it really did start this film on an absolute high. Like I said, this guy is so determined to try and find the Sidney Prescott character, and then when we do see that Sidney is kind of in a bit of an isolation situation, and then comes to integrate with everybody else. I thought that was really good. And it did allow all of the new characters, as well as Gale and Dewey, to really be at the forefront, at least for the first half of this movie, really well. And like I said before, I absolutely loved it that they were filming Stab 3 while in Scream 3. I just thought all of those meta jokes was really cool. And also you got to see the counterparts of all of these characters. So seeing Gale and her movie actress counterpart, as well as Dewey and the Sidney Prescott character as well, I thought all of those little bits that they had in this movie was so brilliant. And as it is a Scream movie, across the course of this film, you get to see who is going to survive and who is unfortunately going to meet their demise. Now from a positive point of view, I absolutely loved all of the film aspect of this movie. I thought they were so clever. I absolutely loved the fact that we were in Hollywood this time. I thought it was quite inventive how they got all of the legacy characters to be on the same set in a really realistic and believable way. And then all of the adventures that happen in the Hollywood space were just so cool. Ghostface's new abilities in this movie were so brilliant. Like I said, he's so much more determined, so much more stronger, and like Randy even said, this time he's going to be even more unstoppable than before. And of course all of the voice aspects, the fact that he can play any character's voice, like I said, they used that so well. They could have had it as a bit of a gimmick, but I feel like they used it in a really terrifying way. For example, duping the Gale and Dewey character to come to the mansion in the first place as they think this message is from Sidney Prescott, and then also when Dewey is getting a call from what he thinks might be Gale, or is it going to be Ghostface? I feel like all of those little mind games are used so brilliantly. Randy returning in a really believable way as well via the videotape, and his sister I thought was really cool. I know at one stage they were going to say that actually he survived the brutal massacre murder in the second film and has been recovering in hospital. I feel like that was probably too much of a stretch, so I feel like they brought him back in a really good way. And also, they brought back the Maureen Prescott character. You only really heard about her through people's narration, for example, her being murdered by Billy Loomis, and everyone thinking that it was actually Cotton. But the fact that we get to see this character and find out even more about her and about her other child, I feel like they wove that in really well. And like I said, they went back to the past so brilliantly, and the other movies. So they actually were showing that actually there was a third murderer at the stage of Billy and Stu, which I thought was so fascinating. And the mansion sequence right at the end of this movie was so wicked. This awesome mansion with all of its different rooms and this massive space, I thought was so wicked. However, from a negative point of view, this movie does get criticized quite a lot for leaning more into the comedic side than the horror side. So if you do love all of those gory aspects of this film, then they are a little bit more reduced in this movie. But you know, that being said, I still feel like the storyline is able to hold its own, despite the fact that there were quite a lot of rewrites happening in this movie, apparently on a daily basis, minutes before they were actually having to be filmed. So I feel like, you know, given all of that, the fact that they were able to make this movie as high quality as it is, I think is really, really impressive. I know that originally they were going to bring back the Stu character from the first movie, and he was going to be in jail, and he was going to be encouraging loads of other characters to try to find Sidney and all of that sort of stuff. I personally prefer what they did do. I think all of the Maureen Prescott and the final reveal for who the killer is, I thought was a lot better than the storyline of Stu coming back. And also, another criticism with this movie is the lack of Sidney Prescott. Like I said, in the first half of this movie, it is actually a lot of other characters that you are seeing, and the reason for this is that Neve Campbell was only able to film for 20 days. And in those 20 days, I definitely feel like they packed in a lot, as all of the Sidney Prescott aspects of this movie are really, really good. But like I said, they just aren't as much as they are in other films. But that being said, from a storyline point of view, I do still feel like Scream 3 is a real win. So the cast and characters in Scream 3 are absolutely brilliant. They literally did such a good job in all of the casting. Of course, we've got all of the legacy characters coming back, as well as a new batch of characters. And like I said, they did such a good job in all of the hiring. So let's go through them one by one. So first up, of course, we have victim royalty herself, Sidney Prescott, brilliantly played by Neve Campbell. Like I said, in the beginning of this movie, she's in isolation on her own. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of this character integrated with the rest of the group. But like I said, there were only a few days that they had with filming with Neve Campbell, but I feel like they used them really, really well. And you can really see how this character has grown so much, as she's so much stronger than in the previous two films. And also, I feel like she is able to lead this film absolutely brilliantly. And her narrative is still really, really important, as the motivation for the killer is all to do with the Sidney Prescott character. And I feel like once again, Neve Campbell absolutely kills it in this role. Next up, we have Courtney Cox, who is also returning as the Gale Weathers character, who is pretty much trying to win back the Dewey character and is really jealous of his new relationship with the Jennifer character. And I feel like she really is the same Gale Weathers than we all know and love. We've got David Arquette back as Dewey as well, and I feel like it's really, really funny how this character is on the set of Stab 3, giving his expertise and advice and consultancy to ensure that the film is reflective of what actually happened to these characters, even though this is a bit of a new narrative being told in Stab 3. And of course, the Dewey character is absolutely hilarious, as he always has been in all of the other movies. Next up, we have Parker Posey, who was just so wicked as the actress Jennifer playing Gale Weathers, and I just feel like she integrated with all of the original stars so well, and with the new characters so brilliantly. This character is really overacting in certain moments, but it just works so well for this character, and I just feel like it was the right decision to keep this character alive for as long as they did, as she just brought so much comedy and terror and really did light up the screen in all of the sequences that she was in. Next up, we have Patrick Dempsey, who is playing Detective Kincaid. Really, really cool, really, really suave, and you're not really sure if you can trust this character. And I thought it was really clever, actually, to have someone in the police force that you really are questioning. Next up, we have Scott Foley, who is the director of Stab 3, that is having his movie being ripped apart, given all of the deaths that are happening with all of his cast. And I just think this character went on such a wicked journey, literally so unexpected where he is by the end of this movie, and I just thought this actor did such a good job in this role. Of course, we've got Cotton Weary, the first death at the start of this movie from a legacy character as well, somebody who was so important in the first and in the second movies. And like I said, the fact that they killed him off right in the beginning, it really did have such a big impact. Maybe not as much of an impact in terms of killing off the Drew Barrymore actress in the first movie, but like I said, the Cotton Weary death really did start this movie on an absolute massive high, as it really did mean that anyone can be killed off in this third and final installment as part of the trilogy. We also have Emily Mortimer, who's playing the Angelina character. She was originally going to have a much bigger part, especially in terms of the final reveal of this movie, but that being said, I feel like she played all of the Sidney Prescott aspects of this character really well. Of course, we had Tori Spelling playing this character in the first two Stab movies, but she didn't want to return in the third one, given all of the deaths that were happening. So now we have Emily Mortimer's character playing that part, and I just feel like when she is coming face to face with Sidney, it's absolutely hilarious. I do feel like they could have done a little bit more with that, but like I said, this character is a bit of a shadowy figure that you don't know whether or not you can trust her or not. We also have Jamie Kennedy back as the Randy character. Like I said, I think it was the right decision to bring him back in a bit of a videotape spiritual format, as opposed to bringing back the actual character back to life, as it would have been a little bit unrealistic, and I thought the videotape route was really, really good. I absolutely loved it. The fact that we had Carrie Fisher doing a bit of a cameo appearance in this movie. Like I said, all of the Scream movies are really, really good, and how they've got such big stars to want to be in this movie. And of course, now we have the brilliant late Carrie Fisher in this film, and I absolutely loved how they made fun of the fact that she looked a lot similar to the real life version of Carrie Fisher, who obviously ended up being in Star Wars. And then finally we have the Milton character, and like I said, this movie really was ahead of its time, as it really did put a lens on all of the horrors that can happen from a sexual point of view in Hollywood, and really did lead into that from a Hollywood producer point of view with the Milton character. And it is really, really shocking when you look back and just seeing all of the stuff that they were saying that the Maureen Prescott character went through, which really was the first domino piece that really did lead to all of this chaos that absolutely happened. So I feel like they really examined and explored that in a really, really great way. And so from a cast and characters point of view, I have to say this movie is absolutely wicked. So from a visuals point of view, this movie had the biggest budget out of all of the Scream movies. However, they didn't really have as much gore or horror moments, like I said, because of all of the real life deaths that are happening, which I think is fair enough, because they were trying to be really respectful, which means there isn't as many gory moments in this movie. But that being said, you know, there are some really wicked sequences. All of the chase sequences in this movie, especially in the final act of this movie, is really, really great. Like I said, the opening sequence in this movie is still so brilliant. All of the sequences in the mansion were absolutely wicked. And just being on a Hollywood set, especially when there are loads of ghost faces and then suddenly one of them is actually the real one and is killing this poor actress. And also the fact that they are on this Woodsboro set with the Sidney Prescott character being chased by Ghostface, I thought that was really, really wicked. And also, like I keep saying, the fact that Ghostface is able to imitate any person's voice in this movie, I feel like is really, really wicked. And so from a visuals point of view, whilst they don't have as many horror gory moments in this film, it definitely makes up for it with all of the brilliant set pieces that they have in this movie. So from a comparisons point of view, I don't think this movie is as good as the first two Scream movies, which really are in another league of their own. However, I do think it's a lot stronger than Scream 4, as I just feel like the final reveal in this movie, similarly to Scream 4 actually, was just absolutely wicked, and I love how it really did tie back to the Sidney Prescott character. But that being said, I do still think it's a lot stronger than its competition. For example, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Black Christmas, Faculty, Fear Street, I think is so much stronger than a lot of the other teen slasher movies. And even though it's not as strong as the first two Scream films, it definitely is one to watch as well. So overall, I really, really enjoyed Scream 3. I think it's such a brilliant movie and super underrated. I feel like it wrapped everything up really, really nicely, and also looped together the first two films with this movie really, really well, as it does show that there's one character that really is responsible for causing and encouraging all of the other killers in the first two movies. So I feel like it wrapped everything up really, really nicely. I feel like all of the Maureen Prescott history I thought was really, really interesting, and really does delve a lot more deeper into this character that you don't really know that much about in the first two films, but you do learn a lot more about in this film. I absolutely love the fact that you get to be in a Hollywood set, and the fact that they were filming Stab 3 within Scream 3. I thought all of those moments were so brilliant. All of the characters playing the parts of these fictionalized versions, and then you see them with the characters. I thought, oh, those moments were just so, so good. And I also loved it, as this is a Scream movie, so it is going to be making fun of stuff, and it really does make fun of trilogies, whilst also being such a brilliant trilogy entry. And I feel like they made the right decision in terms of choosing this ending over bringing back the Stu character, as genuinely, I absolutely love this ending. I love the final confrontation of Sidney Prescott and this final kill. I thought it was so fantastic, and just the fact that they were able to make this entire movie, given all of the rewrites and the tricky schedules and the busyness of this entire cast, I think is a bit of a miracle in and of itself. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give Scream 3 a massive 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of Scream 3, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.